Hi, my friends in America and all over the world. I'm very pleased to be here talking to you and with my dearest friend Linda Rising.
Fernanda, can you tell us a little bit about you and Abrea, please?
Oh, I am an engineer and I am a former labor inspector for 30 years. And I founded ABREA, the Brazilian Asbestos Victims Association, 1995.
So, as a labor inspector, you've seen everything, haven't you?
Yes, I inspected the most or all the companies and the factories in my state of São Paulo, and outside of São Paulo, I was able to inspect part of the companies using asbestos.
Do you think most workers know when they're working with asbestos?
No, unfortunately, this country that looks like a continent, part of the workers have never heard about asbestos risks. We tried to do our best to awareness then about asbestos risks, but the counter information was stronger than ours. But we are trying, we continue fighting and promoting information to all the ex-workers and still working with asbestos.
You are a leader and so respected around the world. When did you start Abrea? How did you start Abrea?
I was an inspector, and I noticed that only the state role was not enough to protect the workers, and I started inviting former workers to come to the labor ministry to talk to me, to organize themselves in an association to look for their rights. And for 22 years, we are campaigning for this justice for the victims.
So, the Asbestos Disease Awareness Organization is just a baby in the fight to ban asbestos. We applaud your efforts and your success to ban asbestos. Tell us what it's been like for you over the last many years to go to the Supreme Court to ban asbestos.
Yes, for us, for 17 years, we fought to ban asbestos at the Supreme Court because at the legislative power we we are not succeeded because the interest, the vested interests were more powerful, and we were obliged to appeal to the Supreme Court. And after 17 years working on this field with lawyers, we succeeded to have the decision to ban asbestos in Brazil.
Congratulations. But also, congratulations on your second Brazil Semianto conference. It's so impressive. Tell us what you wanted to accomplish this year.
Yes, this year we had 2 years ago another conference where we were still discussing the ban asbestos in Brazil, the laws, the state laws, if they were constitutional or not. At this moment in this conference where the ADO was invited, and I am very happy Linda Heinstein could attend this conference. We are in another moment. We are discussing now how to comply, to enforce the decision that already we had in last November to ban asbestos around our country. We have some challenges to overcome, but together, united with people around the world, I'm sure we will accomplish this.
I'm very sad and embarrassed as a mesothelioma widow that our companies send dollars, millions of dollars, to Brazil to mine asbestos. Tell me what you know and what you think about US dollars coming to Brazil.
Yes, it's a shame. We fight against this appeal the asbestos mining company is doing to the Supreme Court to not use asbestos anymore in Brazil to protect our citizens, but to allow to export asbestos. We call this double moral, double standard. It's not correct, and our commitment, like Brazilian anti-asbestos, against asbestos activists, to fight against this immorality.
So I've been so impressed by the labor prosecutors of São Paulo and Brazil. You have done the unimaginable. Tell me how the labor prosecutors have helped you and Abrea to ban asbestos and to fight for justice.
Yes, it's really a very, very unique experience in the world. We have the public ministry, but in Brazil also we have a branch that is called the Labor Public Ministry, and the young prosecutors are doing so wonderful work, and I'm very proud that like a senior engineer, an old woman, I am able to help them, these young prosecutors, to challenge the companies, and they are doing a wonderful job. They are helping the victims. They are helping to make the asbestos problems visible to the Brazilian society. I'm very proud. Even I am a retired labor inspector, to be still active and help these young prosecutors to do their wonderful job. I think that they are an inspiration to us in Brazil and to all people around the world.
You're a sensational, inspirational woman to me and to the world. Tell me what I can do as a widow in the United States to tell the only and the sole importer of raw asbestos, the chlor-alkali industry. What do they need to know about asbestos? Because we know there's no safe or controlled use. What is your message to the chlor-alkali industry?
Firstly, that it's possible to replace the asbestos diaphragms. We could see this. We had 3 companies in Brazil using asbestos diaphragms and the chlor-alkali companies, and 2 of them already replaced. One of them is the American Oxycan company, and for me it's very strange that they are saying in USA that they can't replace asbestos. They did this here. The only company that is resisting to replace the asbestos diaphragms is the Dow Chemical, and we are fighting against them. I am sure we will win because their reasons, their excuses to not replace asbestos are really ridiculous. Now, they are based only in economic subjects or interests. We, as Abrea, together AGAO, our sister in this fight against asbestos vested interests, we will be united to fight against this.
So, as a labor inspector, and you've worked for so many decades, I know you know many families that have felt the pain and the anger. Tell me a little bit about yesterday's event, because I have to say I was so moved by what I saw, what I felt, and what I thought. What did you think?
Yes, along 3 decades, as Linda Heinstein so wonderful mentioned about our work, we were able to join, to unite these different groups of victims and families, and part of them were here in São Paulo last Saturday to discuss about their suffering, their pains, and they understood that it's not different. They suffer the same problems, the same suffering, and they tried to join, to collaborate, one each other, to be only one family. This is the most important. When they left São Paulo this morning on Sunday after the conference, they were so happy, so excited to continue to fight against the injustice, against the abandon they are from the state, from the companies. They are now a big family, and with ADO, I'm sure we will be more and more effective to fight against this disaster that we know that this is a disaster that crossed all the last century and is still a disaster in some parts of the world. Brazil banned asbestos, but we need to enforce this, to not have only a law that nobody pays attention. It's important to continue to inspect, to follow, to make surveillance, and to organize the asbestos victims and families to fight for their rights.
So you are an inspiration and phenomenal leader in the United States and around the world. What do you recommend? How can we as asbestos victims help you in Brazil, and how can we help in the global struggle?
We need to continue to share information, to collaborate each other, to make this world better, because this is a world fight. It's not in my country, it's not an American problem, it's a world problem, it's a world tragedy. And the most important, we have to resign to our vanities, to our problems, individual problems. We have to think in a collective way. And this is my message to you that is watching me and our friends that are making their statements. Please, we need to be united. We are only one family around the world, independently our cultural, geographical, and language barriers and differences. We need to be always together to fight against this monster, the killer fiber, the magic mineral, and the killer that asbestos is.
So we both have very young daughters. What do we want to tell the millennials about this fight that you have taken on for nearly 3 decades?
Sorry, Linda.
What do you want to tell Elena and Emily?
Oh, to the young generation, I feel so excited when I can see Emily or Elena participating in our conferences. They are a hope of a new world without injustice, without inequities. I feel that Emily and Elena are real, the new world generation, new hope, and they inspire us to continue. I think that our role as moms, Melinda and myself, that we did a good job. We create our daughters looking for justice, social and environmental justices, and they are doing a wonderful work. Both, we are very proud. I'm sure Linda, the same feeling I have about Elena, Linda has about her Emily. We are very, very successful men to have so wonderful daughters.
So our next step as mothers fighting for human rights, where do you see our next collaboration? Is it a conference? Is it the United Nations? Where do you see yourself going to next?
I think that we have a lot of challenges at the United Nations to organize or to release mandatory decision to ban asbestos around the world, a convention on asbestos, as they did with mercury or the POPs, the polluters, the organic polluters. I hope that they can be very, very stimulated, or I think that it's my role and Linda's role to make them at the United Nations to understand that the Convention on Asbestos is so important as the other conventions, especially at the UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program. And we are going, me and Linda, to push them for this. But we need to do other discussions about compensations, about how to help people in areas that are so far, so poor that they don't have too much information. And we are going to help people in Bahia or in Minas Gerais, because they have more difficulties to organize people to do the good job they are doing, but they need support. And we will do our best, even all the difficulties we face, because lacking of money, lacking of support, but we are going to continue campaigning for this. This is our role, to show to policymakers the need to help these vulnerable people, not only in Brazil, but in different parts of the world.
I'm sorry you never got to meet Alan, Emily's father, but you met Aldo, and you've met many Aldos and Alans of the world. What is your message to the President Trump? What do you want President Trump to know? If Aldo, Alan, and others could speak, what would they say to President Trump?
It's such a thing that we can't understand how the United States didn't ban asbestos so far. My message to President Trump is to pay attention what is happening in USA, what's happening in the world. Please don't be blind about our appeals, because asbestos is dangerous. Asbestos is considered biggest, the major disaster of the 20th century. And please, Mr. President, don't be ignorant about these risks. Please, 75 countries had already banned asbestos. You can't be indifferent to our appeals. Please, on behalf of the asbestos victims from Brazil and from around the world and their families, please ban asbestos in USA as soon as possible.
Fernanda, you're an inspiration, you're a leader, and you are an influencer. Thank you for giving us time to hear from your voice today. It's time to ban asbestos now.
Absolutely. I want to thanks to AGAO and especially for our partnership that has been very, very important to empower people suffering with this disgrace called asbestos.
The struggle continues. Please translate in Portuguese.
A luta continua. Eu estou certa que nós venceremos. The struggle continues and I'm sure we will win.
And President Trump, I hope that you hear Fernanda Giannasi and Abrea's message to stop the imports of raw asbestos and use. Enough.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Sergio. And I embrace all my friends in USA and around the world. We are a family. We are only one voice to say bad asbestos.
Thank you, Fernanda Giannasi from Abrea.